Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Barry here with the Scry guys and Final Fantasy is close approaching us. And MagicCon. If you guys are going to be at MagicCon, make sure to give Quest a shout out. Unfortunately, I won't be there, but he will be doing events. So if you watch us and you see him, definitely, yeah, go say what's up to him. But we have decided to go ahead and tackle on these pre-con commanders, whether it be the face card or the lieutenant. We are going to be doing them, and I wanted to choose Final Fantasy VI in Japan, Final Fantasy 3 in America on the Super Nintendo, and I have huge love for this commander because I think she was like one of the first female protagonists for Final Fantasy. Quote me if I'm wrong, but we're going to be talking about Terra Bradford, or Terra Herald of Hope, a Mardu legendary creature, human wizard warrior. She has the ability of trance at the beginning of combat on your turn. Mill 2 cards. Terra gains flying until end of turn, and whenever Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tap. So nothing really new for the color pie. We do have cards like Alessia, who does almost the same thing, but the one point of power difference in both cards makes a huge world of difference, right? Because being able to return a creature power 3 or less and not like restricted to the mana value opens up the board for a lot. So what we're mainly going to be focused on for this deck is we're going to have a high creature count, because it's basically going to be a toolbox deck, right? We're replacing a lot of instant sorceries, artifacts, and enchantments with creature spells because we want to go ahead and be able to get some decent triggers off of her. Like have when we're milling mainly creatures and not our other spells. But yeah, let's get into it. So we gotta first talk about our ramp situation. Mardu typically isn't the greatest in ramp, especially if you're playing on a budget, and this is going to be a tier 2 deck. We don't want to stray too far away from the soul of the precon, and so obviously there's so many cards on the game changer list that you could turn this into a tier 3 or bracket 3 and bracket 4 and so on and so forth. So let's look at how we're gonna get there, mainly for this deck, right? We're gonna be taking advantage of artifacts, so Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, and we're gonna use the Talisman Cycle to be our 2-drop ramp. I'm not a huge fan of signets just because when you drop a signet, you can't play it. You need to filter mana into it to fix your, to actually be able to use it. And so I'd rather just take the damage and be able to use it on the turn I play, right? So that's mainly going to be what our artifact situation is going to be. We're also going to be taking advantage of creatures like Professional Facebreaker and Grim Hireling, and I know we have a Pitiless Plunderer in the deck as well, which is going to be great because with Professional Facebreaker and Grim Hireling, not only do they give us treasures for each opponent we're attacking, but they also have the ability to have they also have different abilities that make them worth being on the board, and they're going to be under the 3 or less power situation, right? So with Professional Facebreaker, we can sack the treasures that we get off of the card and then use it as an impulse draw to play cards from the top of our deck. And with Grim Hireling, we have the ability to possibly have removal on a stick, so really great there. And then we have Dihada, who I believe is going to be the most expensive card in the deck, because I'm not really taking stock into the prices of the Final Fantasy cards as it is right now, just because like the allocation and all that stuff is crazy, and so the speculation for what these cards are going to be is so high, and it is a standard set. It's not like Lord of the Rings, right? And so Dihada, I believe, is going to be the most expensive card, even maybe after the dust settles. I'm not too sure, but it's great, right? Because we're mainly using her for the -3, which is going to go ahead and fill our graveyard. We probably won't need to put any of the legendary like cards from them into our hands. We're mainly going to go ahead and just chuck everything into the graveyard, get 4 treasures that way. But with the +2, it's great too if we need a blocker that's going to protect Dihada from being removed. And if we ever get to a -11, I don't know what happened in that game. But you know, I know it's kind of strange to put her here, but it's great because it gives us ramp, it fills up our graveyard, it does a lot of things. Uh, because we are high in the creature count, I wanted to also put some creatures on our lands, right? And so MDFCs have become like a lot of my favorite cards recently, or I think for a lot of people they have been, but they've also been making me play the bounce lands because if we have to play Witch Enchanter or Pinnacle Monk at the early turn of the games, and then we want them back in our hands for the front side, I got the bounce lands to go ahead and do that, which is gonna be great because Witch Enchanter, with these Modern Horizon 3 lands, you could just pay 3 life to have them come in untapped or tapped depending on the situation. But it's great to have the bounce zones in here so we can go ahead and get them back into our hands and then use them for what they're really known for. Or no, just use them, not really known for, but just use them. And so Witch Enchanter is going to be great for artifact and enchantment removal. Pinnacle Monk is going to be great. It's going to act like our Eternal Witness to get our instants and sorceries back because we're milling indiscriminately with Terra. And so to be able to get back like a Reanimate, a Ruinous Ultimatum is going to be great. And then just sack it with like one of our, High Market or something like that. Or with one of our spells or something like that. So there it is. Right, but let's get to the toolbox. Right, we're going to be using creatures like for removal with like a Cursed Marauder, which is going to get rid of non-token creatures. And gets around indestructible if you're seeing that. Skyclave apparition is great because it's 3 mana, it's a 2/2, and it gets non-land permanents 4 or less. Like, it's so good because it gets rid of so many things. It gets rid of Smothering Tides, Rhystic Studies, the One Rings, and then even once it leaves, they don't get it back. It just stays exiled. So I took out, I believe, Palace Jailer for Skyclave apparition. It's so good, and all they get is like at the most a 4/4 illusion creature. So, and then we have Meteor Golem, which I was thinking about putting something like Ravenous Chupacabra, but Meteor Golem being a colorless, we're never really gonna if we cast Meteor Golem from hand for the full price. I think the game is a wrap for us, because we mainly want to put a Meteor Golem into the graveyard and and just recur it back, right? And it gets rid of any non-land permanent, whereas Ravenous Chupacabra is only getting rid of creatures. So just a great piece of repeated removal if we could get one of our sacrifice outlets out. We're looking at Mog, Moogle Warrior. We're looking at things that's gonna help us in the long term. Like Mog could possibly give us bodies and grow all of the bodies that it's giving us, because at the beginning of your end step, each player may discard a card. Each player discard a card this way, draws a card. If a creature card was discarded, you make a 1/2, and then if a non-creature card was discarded this way, put a 1/1 on each Moogle you control. Muggle, I always forget. So it's great. It's a little bit of a group hug card. Sometimes people want to go ahead and get rid of dead cards in their hands, so that's gonna be great, right? But it's a great way for us to mainly just discard cards. If other players don't want to do it, that's fine, but we're gonna go ahead and keep getting 1/2 bodies with lifelink, right? Morbid Opportunist is great. Just draws us a card, only triggers once per turn, but it triggers off of any creature dying, not just ours. And then Shadrick's Silver Quill is a 5-mana 2/5. You guys know it. You guys seen it for a long time now. But I feel like we're never gonna give somebody a 2/1 Inkling, because we don't want to give our opponents the ability to block our creatures, right? But it's great utility for us to either draw cards and lose life, or grow our board to an even bigger threat. We're going to be looking at ways to get creatures back from the graveyard. Bannon, the Returner's Leader, Boros, new for this set. It has Prey. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature card from among cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere other than the battlefield this turn. And it has a way for us to discard and draw cards. So whenever you attack, you may pay 1 and discard a card if you do draw a card. So really great, little bit of everything here or there, and it gives us a way to fill up our graveyard. Same with Chainer, Nightmare Adept, a free discard outlet for once a turn, right? So you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard this turn, activate only once, but whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, if you didn't cast it from your hand, it gains haste. So it also gives our commander a way to swing in the turn it comes in, right? And then we have Sister Hospitaller. From the Warhammer decks. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to the mana value. So really great way for us to gain some life, play big things that have like little power like Meteor Golem, and just and stick around if we need a body, if we need a blocker. Great. And then just ways to just ink out a little bit of control, a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of extra combat, right? Gao, Feral Youth, is 1 in a red. It has rage whenever it attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. But at the beginning of each end step, if a card left your graveyard this turn, Gao deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So a great way for us to just go ahead and start inking out damage little by little. Really awesome that it triggers at the beginning of each end step. So if we kind of geared it towards more like this way, we can kind of use cards that will go ahead and exile things one by one, right? And so just ink out damage every turn. I mean, Gao would probably be a pretty decent commander on its own, so that's great. And then we have Archfiend of Depravity for 3 and 2 black creature flying. At the beginning of each opponent's end step, that player chooses up to 2 creatures that control this acts arrest. So just a great way for us to crowd control the decks. I mean, token decks hate seeing this guy coming, especially if it's your turn next and you have no answers for it. So just a great way for us to go ahead and control the board from getting too flooded with creatures. And then but it's one of the cards that you can't reanimate with Terra, but we do have other ways to reanimate cards, like as you saw, Bannon, if it gets milled or something like that, or discarded, or even just reanimate. And then we have Aurelia the War Leader for 2 red, 2 white, legendary creature angel, flying, haste, vigilance. Whenever Aurelia attacks for the first time each turn, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase, so it's not gonna be able to get that trigger when you recur it with Terra, but if it sticks around for the next turn, now you're reanimating 2 creatures per turn, because you're gonna be having double combats and all that stuff. And if you're not closing this out with like within 1 or 2 rotations, then I guess you're going up against a life gain deck. But yeah, just a super strong card, and we want to go ahead and be able to close this game out. So we're gonna be playing the cards that they come in the deck, right? Ruinous Ultimatum is great because you also have Kefka in the art, which we're gonna have a deck tech on that in the future, because it is Kefka is one of the most villainous creatures in Final Fantasy lore, and I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for it. You know, Sephiroth, the pretty boy, he gets all the credit. But Ruinous Ultimatum, 2 red, 3 white, and 2 black, destroy all non-land permanents your opponent's control. Great. Tragic Arrogance, I think I would have taken out of this deck, but I love the art on it, and it's great because it's one of those board wipes that gets around indestructible. And so if you can find way, and I feel like with your deck you should be able to be able to rebuild the quickest, right? And so yeah, that's why I kept it in. And then Rise of the Dark Realms, I mean, if this resolves, you usually win the game. Like, I would say 9 out of 10 times you win the game. And it's just flavor on flavor, so I gotta keep it in there. But yeah, that's gonna be the deck tag. Make sure to check the link down below for the full deck list if you want to go ahead and see that. And yeah, man, like, comment, subscribe, and we hope to see you at Quest hopes to see you at MagicCon. Have a good one, guys.